Hi, welcome to IT Training Experts. This video tutorial covers a simple network management protocol, or SNMP. Let's dive in. First, what is SNMP? The definition of SNMP is it's a standards-based protocol that allows a network management station or system to collect data and modify device configurations from a managed network device. SNMP has been around for a long time. It was created and ratified in the late 1980s. Multiple RFCs were written. In fact, you could do a quick Google search of SNMP RFCs and you would see close to a dozen of them. SNMP was primarily used for monitoring devices. In fact, when you ask most people what's the first thing they think of when they hear SNMP, they think of network monitoring. But it also can be used to configure devices as well. And this was something I learned early on in my career that I didn't realize, that SNMP wasn't strictly a monitoring protocol. You could actually manage devices using SNMP. But I don't think that's something even still today that's leveraged very much. So now let's jump into the SNMP components and break this down a little bit. Starting with the managed devices. What are these? These managed devices are devices on the network. Can be a server, switch, router, or firewall that run the SNMP agent. So basically any device on the network that can talk SNMP. This could also include IoT devices. It doesn't really have to be your traditional devices you think of being on the network. An SNMP agent is the software that runs on the managed device. So I think of the managed device almost like the hardware, and the SNMP agent is the software that runs on the hardware. The SNMP agent, for example, on Windows, the Windows operating system is a service that you can turn on. By default, it isn't on, but when you turn it on, it allows that Windows operating system to be able to talk or communicate via the SNMP protocol. The same thing for the Linux operating system. You configure the SNMP daemon, and at that point, that Linux server can communicate or talk via SNMP. Next is the Network Management Station, or NMS, say that 3 times fast, is responsible for communicating with the SNMP agent, stores and displays SNMP data in a human-readable format. It's typically accessed via some kind of GUI and web browser by the administrator. In other words, think of the Network Management Station as the SNMP management server. And on that server, you also would, another component of that is the Management Information Database. So this is the back end. The Management Information Database, or MIB, stores the raw SNMP information about the managed devices. And this MIB file is basically a text file that can be accessed via any text editor, but typically any modifications done are done through the Network Management Station and not directly to the MIB. Next are the SNMP versions, starting with SNMP version 1, surprisingly. Released back in 1988, uses the concept of community strings which define access. Think of community strings kind of like a shared password, meaning that all devices that were communicating via SNMP had to have that same community string. If not, they wouldn't be able to communicate. The challenge with the early version of SNMP is there was no security. You had to use other protocols to provide security, and it wasn't widely deployed using those. Transmitted data in clear text, and that was its biggest downfall from a security perspective. Next is SNMP version 2. So it offered some enhancements over SNMP version 1, added some new functionality as well. But one of the things added was security, but it wasn't widely adopted. In fact, there was a lot of pushback from the industry about the security side of it. The industry liked the enhancements and the additional functionality, but the security the industry just flat out wasn't ready for. And at that time, security wasn't a concern like it is today. So SNMP version 2C came out, which was a subversion. And it added that additional functionality, but it removed the security. So you went back to the same security that you had in SNMP version 1. Today it's still the most widely deployed, with security concerns becoming more and more increasing. And now we're seeing it move towards SNMP version 3. Basically with SNMP version 3, which has been out for a few years, Offers the same SNMP functionality as version 2, but it did add improved security model, but it was a different model than what was originally released with version 2. With version 3, it added the concept of authorization and privacy. Authorization meaning a username and password, privacy was encryption. So any new deployments of SNMP would most likely go down the version 3 route, or it would be recommended to go that route. But most established environments are still running the SNMP version 2C today. And another thing to note is there's no interoperability between any of the versions. So your network management station, your SNMP management server would have to support the multiple versions, but to allow them to all coexist in one environment. But you wouldn't have a version 1 device being able to communicate with a version 2 device, for example. You would have to select that as an option when you're configuring, your SNMP management server, that this is a version 1 device, this is a version 2 device, etc. Next is the SNMP functions. By itself, SNMP is a pretty simple protocol. It really has only 2 commands. The SNMP get command, which queries information from a network device. This is useful for monitoring and uses only read-only access. This is the most common deployment of SNMP. Pretty basic, and it's used for monitoring. SNMP put command is the one that actually allows you to modify and configure a network device and provides a lot of management functions. This requires read-write access. And this is one of those things when you're deploying SNMP, you really need to understand how are you using it. Are you strictly just querying information to monitor a device, or are you going to actually make some type of change to it? And that's going to determine how you want to give, or what kind of access you want to give. SNMP polling versus SNMP notifications or traps. So there's really 2 ways to deploy SNMP, starting with polling. Polling works essentially with the network management station sending a request to the managed device, and it replies back that it's operational. Think of it saying hello, and then the network management station saying hello, and the managed device coming back and saying I'm here. Polling intervals can be customized. It's really good at determining if the device is up and operational or if it's down. The next option is SNMP traps or notification. Managed devices can send a trap or notification based off of any predefined change. Network management station will generate an alert based off of a trap, or it can trigger some other kind of action. Think of a trap as a way to send a notification whenever you hit a predefined threshold or condition on the managed device that you want to be notified of. This is really a simple way of kind of looking at it. So if there's a specific device like a server or router, and you're monitoring CPU percentage or bandwidth of an interface, and you're wanting to monitor, you want to get alerted over a certain percentage, you can configure an SNMP trap to send information back to the network management station. At that point, be notified that, hey, this threshold's been hit, you may want to take a look at it, or you may want to take further action. And lastly, SNMP is connectionless. It uses UDP ports 161 and 162 primarily. The higher ports listed here are for secured connections. Predominantly, you're going to see 161 and 162 used in as most environments using some of the older versions of SNMP. And that really covers it. I hope you found this video informative. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. There'll be more videos like this coming in the future. And feel free to leave a comment. And thanks for watching, and take care.